Yes, welcome back, Looney listeners. You are listening to Into the Night, a Moon Knight podcast. You are listening to episode 141. I am one of your High Priest of Khonshu Rey, and my gosh, I found a soulmate here, a soul brother. I found another High Priest of Khonshu here, a very special guest on tonight's show for a Moon and Stars segment, Taran Barker from Tsunami Studios. How you going, Taran?
It's going pretty good. Thank you for having me. It's always good to meet another fan of Moon Knight, So hard to find him.
Oh well, we're gonna have to get you on board into our little community as well. There's so many massive Moon Knight fans. I love it, and having seen your videos, I know that you are well. Actually, spoilers. Actually, I told you before the show I'm gonna hide it, but you are a big massive fan as well. So, Taran, uh, before we get into it, Tsunami Studios on YouTube, you've been running for a while now. I mean, I've only seen the Moonwatch segment of it, but would you like to tell us a bit about it?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've back in like 2017, I was doing a couple of video. It was just audio stuff, just talking about comics and movies and TV. And then I bought a camera, so I started doing some video stuff. I went to college for a bit there, so I didn't really do it for a couple of years. But I'm back into it. I'm talking more comics, movies, TV. Just about any topic in that, really. I'm trying to work on some more podcast stuff too, but it's just me celebrating the stuff I love to talk about is pretty much what it is. And since I love Moon Knight so much, I decided I want to talk more about him on that channel too.
Yeah, great. I mean, there's so much material out there at the moment. I mean, we as comic book fans, as it's just like the geek culture has kind of exploded ever since, I guess, the MCU reached its ascendancy. I mean, it started off around 2008. X-Men started 2000. It slowly has been building. The MC Marvel Studios obviously has done a lot more with creating a universe, but we get TV shows now as well. Are you a big fan of like the Netflix shows and all the other ones, or the DC shows as well? CW.
Well, I haven't watched a lot of the CW stuff recently. The one that I really like though is Doom Patrol on the
Oh,
DC Universe app. I don't know if you've seen Doom Patrol.
no, no, not
Well,
yet, not yet.
it's yeah,
Yeah, I've heard really
it's
good
like
things about it. Yeah.
yeah, it's really well made. The everything about it, right down to the cinematography, to the lighting, the costumes. It's just a really well done piece of television, and I think it's really great to see for something that's a genre piece too that is done so elegantly and classy, and it's such a great watch, and it's probably one of my favorite just comic book properties out there right now on television.
Okay. Are you a fan of the comic book series? Were you a fan before you watched Doom Patrol, the TV show, or vice
I
versa?
actually wasn't. I know I've read some of the Grant Morrison stuff, but then I haven't really kept up with it. I know who was that? It was Gerard Way. I think he did his
Yeah.
run recently. I haven't read that one. I'd love to go back and pick it up though, but I was not really a fan of Doom Patrol when I watched the show, so that's why I was really impressed with what they managed to do there.
Okay, fantastic. I've watched most of, I think, the first season. I'm talking non-Marvel stuff now, because most people probably know that I'm pretty much into Marvel. But I've watched most of the Titans. I think season one. I'm not sure if you've seen that. I think it's pretty good. I mean, I'm a huge fan of the Netflix Daredevil show. I don't think it can. I don't think it reaches that height, but it's pretty good. And you mentioned in one of the videos. I mean, we'll get to it, Loonies. The Umbrella Academy, for the obvious reasons. So there's that out. There's stuff like the Swamp Thing. There's a lot of good stuff happening out there in the world. But anyway, Loonies. What I have got another High Priest of Khonshu here on the show for you. Can't believe it. Is we're here for a Moon and Stars segment now. This is a little off. I know if you're looking up at the sky, you're going, hang on, this is not a full moon. What are you doing a Moon and Stars segment? I'm sorry, I've gone against Khonshu. I'm just going to have to get a rap on the knuckles. Just some scheduling issues have arisen. So thankfully, Taran has been available earlier, because I have approached you for a later date, but because I was waiting for the full moon, Taran. But it's we'll have to come in early. So anyway, Loonies, we are doing a Moon and Stars segment. We're going to go through Moonwatch, which is basically Taran's I guess, love of Moon Knight under his Tsunami Studios kind of moniker, and that's his YouTube channel as well. We'll grab all the details from you, Taran, towards the end of the show. That'll be great. But anyway, always as we start, I want a big thank you to all our patroonies as well. You too can become a Patreon member. Just check out the links in the show notes. Plenty of bonuses and incentives to join. Now, I did announce that for the month of May, I think, and maybe June as well. Look, I'm going to suspend, I'm going to keep the Patreon page open, but I'm just going to suspend the payments because of this pandemic that has kind of rifled its way through the world, and understand that there are a lot of economic hardships for some people as well. So, we don't do it for the money. We do it because we love doing the show. When I say Taran, we, I mean me. But as my other
I hear that,
just do it for the love of the show. The patronage is definitely appreciated, and it allows us to expand and do extra stuff. But at the end of the day, if we can hold it, suspend it, just to help out a little bit in our small way, then we'll do that. So, but anyway, please have a look at the Patreon page. Consider being a member. You can be privy to bonus episodes and such, or you can be credited as a co-producer or executive producer for each of the episodes, depending on your tier. Also, a big thank you to Hello Headphones, empowering gamers to play at their best, our sponsor. And if you go online, you can type in the ITK Moon Knight code to get 10% off everything on their online store. So all of that aside, Taran, and before we get kicking into your Moonwatch, because what we're going to do, Loonies, we're going to go through, there are 7 videos I've counted, Taran, that you've done on Moonwatch, all quite distinct. I'd love to go through each of them. I don't want to spoil anything, so we'll kind of broadly talk about them, and hopefully the Loonies can click onto the videos and have a good old watch themselves. But we'll go through that. But before we do that, of course, we do just a little bit of chatting and an idle chat and a bit of white noise, our news. Just wondering, Taran, currently reading, what is on your kind of pull list at the moment? I mean, considering all the current climate of the world.
Yeah, considering all things, I thought I would go back and find a couple of comics that I wanted to pick up. So, like, I have all the Preacher books from, like, early Vertigo. Ooh. So I was like, well, what else is some early Vertigo books I could go back to? Mm-hmm. And I started to pick up Fables.
Fables?
Do you know which one? Fables? It's a Bill Willingham book. It's like, I think it came out in 2002. It ran from 2002 to 2015. Mm-hmm. And it's a story about all of like the fairy tale characters, like Snow White, the Big Bad Wolf, and they have to like immigrate to modern day New York. And it starts off as like this detective story with the Big Bad Wolf, and then it kind of is slowly starting to build itself up into like this big kind of fantasy epic. And it's just a really interesting read. It's right up there with Preacher for me as one of those. Wow. Adult Vertigo books. So it's a really fun read, and I'm about 60 issues in already.
Oh wow. Jeez, there's a fair few issues there, 2002 to 2015. I'm sure that no, I've never heard of it. It sounds really good, actually. I'm really into
it. Is surprisingly good, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm into mythology and the whole culture of folk tales and stuff, so that sounds pretty good, right up my alley. Anything else that you can recommend? Maybe the Loonies.
I also picked up the second volume of an Image comic book called Velvet. It's an Ed Brubaker book.
Okay. It's Brubaker, brilliant.
Yeah, he's a great writer. I love some of his stuff. It's like an old school 1970s detective spy thriller about like this aging secretary who used to work as like this for this spy agency, and she gets framed for the murder of one of the agents there, so she kind of goes on the run against her agency. It's a really well written book, and it's really good art too. It's just a really fun read. and
Nice.
I think 3 volumes of it are out now. So
Oh, okay. And sorry, the Fables one. Do you have the floppies for that, or are you reading that in a trade or an omnibus or something,
I am reading
or
it
digital?
through some trades,
Okay.
and then I mean, I might pick some up on Comixology. I think
Yeah.
just what I still need to read. So
Are you a digital man at all? Are you a floppies man or a hard trade buyer?
I go back and forth. If it's like
Yeah.
a book I'm not sold on yet, I will buy it digitally. But if it's something like I would like to get the actual individual issues of this in physical form, then I go out to the comic store and pick it up. But if it's something I think I want to try out and I'm not sure if I'm going to like it, I buy digital.
Okay. With Moon Knight, are you one of the Loonies? I am one of them, so I might be tragic. I don't know. Do you get all formats of it? Do you get like digital, trade, and floppies, or no?
I I've been going back recently to pick up all of the issues of Moon Knight. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm still a ways out, but I started digital with him,
Hmm.
and then I've just been kind of going back to get some of the physical issues. So a
Okay.
lot of the newer stuff I have the actual physical stuff, but the older stuff I have digital.
Okay. Because I know you mentioned in one of the videos you're a huge fan of the Jeff Lemire run, Greg Smallwood, and they have this beautiful oversized hardcover of it as well. I've got that. I had to get that because the artwork, Greg Smallwood, just phenomenal art.
Yeah, he's great. He's a great artist.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, Lemire's story is no, he's no slouch as well. So, so it's definitely worthy on the shelf, shelf worthy, yeah, trade worthy. And speaking of, okay, we know that you created Moon Knight, the Moon Watch, and you know your love of everything that you like to talk about and you like to watch and read. This may seem like a pretty obvious question now, but why did you choose to make, in particular, Moon Knight videos? I'm sure that you like other characters, maybe not just as much, but up there. But why Moon Knight then?
When I first got into Moon Knight, I really liked everything that was going on with the character. When I first got in, it was like just after the Bendis stuff, so it was kind
Hmm.
of like the Warren Ellis stuff was just getting prominent, and something about him just stood out to me, and I was just like, why is nobody talking about this character? I went back and read a lot of his older runs. I'm like, there's some great unique stuff in all of his runs that you can't do with a lot of other characters, because I would say more than some like a Spider-Man or a Captain America, you can take chances with a character like Moon Knight and take him into different directions that other characters and other creators wouldn't do with certain characters that they've worked on for years. So I just kind of just fell in love with him instantly. I've always had that like infatuation towards him, and then I was like, well, I want to share my love with this character with people online. So when I started doing videos, I was like, well, I want to talk about Moon Knight. Where can I start talking about Moon Knight? He's getting a Disney Plus show. Okay, I can start there, and then we could maybe work our way back, talk about some key moments, talk about stuff I want to see on the Disney Plus show, and it just started from there. And I'm definitely gonna do more videos on him.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't wait. And this is great. It's a great find for me. It's a bit of a boon finding a YouTube channel dedicated to Moon Knight. So that's really cool. I think a lot of loonies were nodding their heads there, Taran, when you were just describing, you know, how you gone into him and the versatility of the character. Because one of the things I love is that. And you touch upon it in your video as well about. We'll get to it about the R rating, Netflix and Disney Plus of the TV show, and how there's only really one run that kind of speaks to that. What I love about Moon Knight is that each of the volumes are quite different. You know, there's an essence, there's a thread that they all, there's obviously a similarity between the two that they all kind of adhere to some extent, but a lot of the writers do play around with the character a lot, and I feel because he's kind of on the fringe in the Marvel universe, that these writers and creators are allowed to kind of freeball it a little. So yeah, no, certainly a very advantageous kind of facet of Moon Knight. And speaking of in the realm of YouTube and films as well, Sharon, are you privy to any of the Moon Knight films currently banding about on the interwebs? We've actually touched upon a couple of filmmakers who have made Moon Knight films. Have you seen these online?
I think I have. I can't remember the creative team behind it, but there's one I think what came out, was it last year? One came out. Yeah, I've seen the most recent one. I'm not sure if there's any other ones out there, but I've seen that one.
Okay, that generated a lot of buzz. I think what you're talking about is that came out early last year. I think that was January last year.
Yeah, I
That
think
was
so.
by Caden Butera, really really talented filmmaker, really young talent, and they created a lot of buzz because I think his Moon Knight costume was black. I don't know if that's the one that you saw. It was all in
Yeah, I
black.
think I think it was a white mask and some of
Yes.
it was black too. Yeah.
Yeah. What was your reaction to seeing that? Did you love it? I mean, did you? Yeah.
I did like it. I think, of course, yeah, it's a fan film and it's
Yeah.
not a big budget thing, so you just have to go in with that expectation. But I think for what the team there did, it was really well done. It was executed beautifully and it looked good. Like I like the costume being white. That's just me, but I think it looked
Yeah.
really good.
Yeah. Well, he's got a. I'm not sure if it has been released yet or not, but there is a sequel of sorts. It's not a Moon Knight short film, but Moon Knight's in it. It's got the Prowler. I don't know if you're familiar with the
Oh,
Prowler.
that's interesting.
Hobie Brown, yeah. But he's rectified and he's listened to fans' reactions, and his Moon Knight costume in that looks awesome. It is white, and it's armored, and I think it's probably not that far from what we might see in the Disney Plus. So he's done a lot of really good work there. So another little shout out to our friend of the show there, Caden Butera, doing good stuff. Also the young guys. I've got to plug for you, Taran, to you, Taran, as well. YouTube MCU. There's like a studio of really young filmmakers, very enthusiastic. I might just pop in. I might send you some links to their films. They're quite prolific, a lot of fun. So anyway, alrighty, we're gonna head to a bit of white noise, a bit of news. So only a couple of bits of news this week, short and sweet. We have Moon Knight as well as the others. I think it was Miss Marvel, She-Hulk, on the Disney Plus service. This was reported apparently by France's Disney Plus streaming service, and MCU Cosmic, which you got to take a grain of salt with. Apparently pushed back to 2022. I mean, I think this is neither here nor there, Taran. I mean, we're going to expect delays anyway as to when Moon Knight will eventually arrive. It doesn't really matter. Everything seems to be delayed anyway. Do you think this will hinder any of these shows at all? Do you think any of these delays will hinder any of the comic book properties at all?
No, I don't think so. I mean, with like She-Hulk and Miss Marvel and Moon Knight too, they haven't started filming yet. So,
No.
I mean, I think some of them don't even have writers yet. So it makes sense that they're going to push those back. They're properties that aren't being worked on right now, and it gives them a chance to finish doing things like WandaVision and Falcon and Winter Soldier when this all blows over. So yeah, it makes sense to me. I don't think it's neither here nor there either. It just
Okay.
makes sense.
Yeah, I'll just read a little bit of a snippet here. Apparently, again, so I just want to reiterate, Disney Plus haven't made any official announcement of this. But anyway, apparently the French Disney Plus service has said The Falcon and Winter Soldier and WandaVision are still set to come out in 2020. And Loki and What If will follow 2021. And then we have Hawkeye, Miss Marvel, Moon Knight, and She-Hulk in 2022. I mean, take a year here or there. I think that's about the right order anyway. So I'm not too worried.
Yeah.
It is what it is. The only other bit of news here, I just wanted to put this in, Taran. I'm not sure if you've got visuals on this now on the prompt sheet, but beautiful stuff here. Tom Brevoort, editor-in-chief, I can't remember, of Marvel, big wig in Marvel. He tweeted some original artwork, and some of this was great. So he's actually got a pencils and inks original of the Bill Sienkiewicz, one of the issues of Moon Knight there, which looks really good. And there's a Gil Kane breakdown of that classic Werewolf by Night issue 32 front cover that I'm sure all Loonies know. So beautiful stuff there. Taran, have you got any? Actually, I do recall looking at your videos and scouring the backgrounds. I do recall that you do have some artwork of Moon Knight. Do you own any?
Yeah, I have a couple of pieces from local conventions down here. I can't remember the name of the artist, but I got a nice headshot of Moon Knight, and then I think I have a poster from the Vengeance of the Moon Knight book, actually.
Ooh,
That was the
nice.
Alex Ross inspired variant cover.
Yep.
Yeah, I
Very
think
nice.
I got that somewhere.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, I mean, I've got a Jason Burrows drawing. He did. I got a commission for that. That was pretty cool. And Paul Davidson. So he was around the Max Bemis run as well. So yeah. So looking to get plenty more. Like, I think David Finch would be great.
Oh, definitely.
Who else? I think who would your top? Declan Shalvey would be pretty good.
Oh, Declan Shalvey's probably my top. His artwork's just so beautiful. I love it. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. So anyway, Loonies, that's the news. Not much there. Plenty to look at. I'll put these images in our group on our page as well. You can have a look. Looks really nice. Anyway, let's get to it, Taran. We're going to get into our Moon and Stars segment here. So, as I mentioned, it's not a full moon. Stuff ya. It's something else. We'll figure it out later. I'll deal with Khonshu later. So we're going to look at Tsunami Studios Moonwatch by Taran Barker. We heard a bit about Tsunami Studios, Taran, just before we get into it. And what we'll do, we're going to go through your 7 videos. I'll put them in chronological, so the oldest to the newest. And we're just going to discuss them. I think that'll be a lot of fun, because a lot of these topics that you've covered, we have covered on our show as well. It'd be great to get your take on it. But before we do any of that as well, just sticking with Tsunami Studios, any current projects in the works that you'd like to talk about or like to plug, or anything that you have eyes on to do?
Yeah, I'm working on a podcast right now. It's called Fights of Fiction. I take 2 characters from popular culture, tie them under a theme, and I create a story in which those characters fight. I just finished filming Damian Wayne versus the Minions, which I'm very excited to put up. Yeah, it's really fun. And so I'm working on that, and then I'm working on a show called The Springfield Files, which is a show about The Simpsons, where I talk about individual episodes, what makes them work, what didn't, what holds up today. And I'm excited to work on that too. Aside from Moon Knight, The Simpsons is something I hold dearly, so I'm excited to talk about that. And that should be coming up sometime next week. The first
fantastic.
one.
Oh, great. Well, I'll get the details from you, and I'll give it a plug when they do drop later next week or so. That'd be cool. All right, Taran, let's get into it. Moon Watch now. Number one. The first video, we have a young Taran Barker here. I'm just like years ago. Still green. Kicking off his Moon Watch series. Awesome little opening there.
Yeah,
I like the quirkiness of it. For those that you got to watch it, let's just say Moon Knight hoodie. I'm sure a lot of Loonies will have that. So a very excited Taran introducing his Moon Watch. And this is titled, I Love Moon Knight, Some Quick Thoughts and Updates on the Character. So this was an interesting one, Taran, because basically it revolved around the massive announcement of Moon Knight getting a TV show, and this was big news, right? For any of the fans. Can you remember? I know it sounds silly and probably a bit overstated, but can you remember where you were when you heard it and what you were doing and all that?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I just got back from work. I had a long day. I just remember I was just getting home. I was living with my mother at the time, so I just went to go to my room, change, go have dinner, and I was just looking on my phone. I just saw the announcement. I just screamed, "Oh my God!" And she's like, "What? What is it?" I'm like, "This is what I've wanted since they did Iron Man. It's what I've wanted for
Yeah.
so long. Since I've loved the character, that's what I wanted to hear. And I was just very excited. And I just remember it was just a great feeling.
Yeah. To be honest, it was akin to seeing the Avengers, when they all come together, or some massive announcement, because
Yeah.
there's been a lot of spectorlation. We call it spectorlation about it, and there's a lot of want for it, and people are saying, yeah, we're thinking like maybe 2-3 years down the track, we'll get something. But then it hit, and I remember I was just crossing the road. I think I was checking my phone. One of the Loonies, actually, big shout out to Tommy, the man on the streets. He texted me. He lives in Grand Rapids, Michigan. I'm obviously from Australia, if you don't know from my accent. So he texted me. He was like, "Yeah, have you heard? Like, we get a." This was from the D23 convention, and it's like, yeah, it was great. So anyway, so this announcement was huge news, and immediately it kind of got the tongues wagging, the Loonies speculating, and the big thing for me that seemed to be going around was this whole R rating, this whole Netflix versus Disney Plus. Loonies were happy, Loonies were sad. What's your take on it? I mean, I know your take on it because of the video, but how do you see this evolve? Like, were you, be honest, like frazzled, like initially, like when it's Disney Plus, it's not Netflix, or were you just generally, whatever?
I mean, for the longest time, I'm like, yeah, it has to be a hard R. We're going to go gritty and dark. But there's like one major arc where he was like that hardcore where he cut off Bushman's face. Like there's only one big arc like that. The rest of it is PG-13 at most. And that's not a negative to it. You can still get bloody and violent. So I was like, it's on Disney Plus. Okay, they're showing The Simpsons on there. They're doing that Lizzie McGuire show. So they're willing to go to more adult routes, I think. And I think with Moon Knight, it's a good place to test to see how far you can actually go. If you're going to, maybe if they want to do, I don't know what another darker character would be down the line, but if maybe they're doing that MODOK show with Patton Oswalt, maybe if that got a little darker and they wanted to put it on Disney Plus, Moon Knight's a good testing ground to see how adult you can get in terms of violence and in terms of just graphic content. So it doesn't need to be an R rating, I think.
Yeah, I agree as well. I don't think it does. I think you can get pretty dark and pretty gritty without an R rating as well. It is interesting, though, because I mean, you've touched on the point, Moon Knight will be one of the first. I mean, because I've got the Disney Plus streaming service. It's probably different here than it is in the US and maybe in Canada as well. Maybe we've got less. But having looked at what's on offer there, Moon Knight's going to stick out like a sore thumb. If it is going to be edging towards the darker, broodier aspects of it. So it's going to be a risk, I think, in some senses, but it could open the doors to a lot. I mean, and let's face it, they're knocking on the doors. I mean, there's a talk of Deadpool as well. I mean, what are they going to do with that? I mean, there's a lot of comic book content that is going to have to go there as well. I mean, Star Wars is probably, there's a bit of violence in that, right? That's PG-13. That can get dark.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah, so if you got that as a a measure, then it's entirely possible. What do you think? So we also, in that video you mentioned, we get the showrunner as well, Jeremy Slater. And you gave your thoughts on Umbrella Academy. Look, I thought Umbrella. I haven't finished it. I thought it was decent. It's
not terrible.
Yeah, but I have confidence in Jeremy Slater. From what I've seen and I've heard, he's done like The Exorcist. There was a Netflix show or something that he did, like a horror-based thing. So
okay, no, that would work then.
Yeah, exactly. So if he's got that, if he can go down that route, then there's definitely potential there as well. And just, I wanted to ask you about this, Taran. You mentioned in this video, in the Moonwatch, that there were rumors for the Moon Knight TV show to go through some time periods. Was that correct?
Yes, I remember. I was reading somewhere, I saw a video where this guy, I can't remember his name for the life of me, but he was claiming that the show was looking to do a time jump. Mark is like in service working with Bushman and Frenchie, and then into the future when he is Moon Knight and working there. It's like a 7-year or 10-year jump, I think.
Oh, okay.
I read. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be good. I mean, it'll be a nifty way, like a different way to do the origin rather than just tell it chronologically, because I don't know what people's appetite are for yet another origin. I'm just trying to think of Daredevil. Kind of was like a bit of an origin, but he was already kicking. He was already going around. So, yeah, I'd love to see the whole Egypt thing, the whole temple.
I do think we'll get that,
but maybe in flashbacks. Like I think just maybe in flashbacks.
I'm thinking too. Yeah. Maybe one episode dedicated to just the scenario, even midway through the season, right?
Yeah, that's true. I mean that. For sure. I mean, I've done some reviews recently on another podcast of Penny Dreadful, and they love doing that as well. I mean, TV shows love dedicating one episode around maybe around the mid-season, early to mid-season. They'll drop a flashback. Yeah. So anyway, so they encapsulated your thoughts just on the Moon Knight announcement TV show. That was your first video. Just a couple of final things. Picked up on the reference, as did we, on the Man in Cairo in Winter Soldier. That got everyone kind of wondering as well, which is pretty cool. And so that pretty much was a nice intro to Taran Barker and Moonwatch. Second, we get your second video, Conan Serpent War #1. Moon Knight fights a snake monster. So just on the outset. So we covered the issues as well on episodes 124, 126, 128, and 130. We went through each of the issues. First up, and again, I've read the comments page of your YouTube channel, so I kind of know. But were you impressed with Serpent War at all?
I initially liked the first issue, and I didn't finish reading Serpent War. I'll say that right now. I'm not a big Conan guy or Solomon Kane or any of those characters. I never really was into them, and I only picked this up because of Moon Knight, and I thought it was an adequate story. It looked good, and I know, was it issue 4 where they show Mark and Khonshu, and Mark's got a new vision of what New York looks like or something?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, it certainly gave. Look, if anything, it's a short series, 4 issues. Very strange having, Jim Zub putting Robert E. Howard characters in with Moon Knight. To me, it didn't quite hit the mark. Because I was reading some interviews with Jim Zub, and he was touting it as, it's great to have Solomon Kane and Moon Knight together because they play off each other. You have a pagan and a very devout Christian. I didn't see any of that real banter between the two other than just very superficial, just off the cuff comments.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Dark Agnes, I did find it intriguing as well, like you said. And I read issue 1 of Dark Agnes. I can't remember who wrote it. Don't quote me, anyone. Tinny Howard, maybe. But I thought that was quite good, but I felt she was underused in Serpent War. Conan was pretty good, but he was run of the mill. He was just barbaric.
He was Conan.
Yeah. The good takeaway from Serpent War I found was this Moon Knight ambiguity of what his power of Khonshu is now, and it really does lead into the age of Khonshu, which we'll talk about in your other video, because and what I do like, and Marvel they don't do often enough, is continuity, you know what I mean, and between the titles.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
I hate it how you see Doctor Strange.
Right now.
Yeah, you see Doctor Strange in one of the events. He's doing something, but in his own title, he's lost his powers, or he's been exiled somewhere. It's well, hang on, it's the same guy. So I loved how Moon Knight, they brought that across. And also, speaking on that point as well, Khonshu was a big difference here. There was a big statement made here, as well as the Moon Knight Annual. You've read that one with Cullen Bunn? It was the Acts
Oh,
of
was that the
Evil.
one where he? Yeah, it was. Yeah, I've read that Acts of Evil one. So I
Yeah,
really like Kang the Conqueror, so
yeah,
I
he's
picked that
good.
up. Yeah.
Well, what I figured from that one and then Serpent War, what they really made known and canon, it seemed, was that Khonshu is he's basically, there's no ambiguity to him at all. He's there. He's a god, and he works with Mark. So you lose that, as you were mentioning in one of your videos, not wanting to lose that ambiguity. All that's
Yeah.
taken out in this. So it'd be interesting in Age of Khonshu how Jason Aaron tackles that, because we've got now Khonshu who's very much part of the world, and everyone knows that he's there. Anyway, we'll see what happens. Now, you didn't mention it in your video as well, but I was wondering, because Serpent War came out after it, but Contagion. What were your thoughts on Contagion?
I liked Contagion. It had like a very pulpy, old school feel to it, especially when you have like Iron Fist is one of like the leads in that, and the Thing. I really liked Contagion. And I think what they did with Moon Knight in there was actually pretty interesting. How he was able to hold off the infection, because
Yeah,
there's a lot going on in his mind. He's going to have to fight that off anyway. So I thought
yeah.
it was a pretty good book,
Okay,
and I
okay.
had a good time reading it actually. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a short book as well. And look, to be honest as well, I pretty much preferred Serpent War a bit more. I've been by no way am I a Conan fan or anything like that. I enjoyed Contagion, and again we did review that as well. I loved how Mooney got a lot of the limelight towards the end, and some crazy stuff happening. A lot of it was reminiscent to me of the Collective, like. You know how he's fighting that
Oh yeah.
mental beast.
Yeah.
It didn't seem totally like it's kind of, I've kind of seen this before. So but I love the Thing in it. The Thing was great, and I loved
Oh, he
how
was. Yeah.
and how they used Kunlun, and the lore of that, to about the virus. That was pretty cool. And also, just a final thing with your video, Taran, you mentioned that you'd never read Moon Knight 200, the Bemis run.
That is true. I
Have you?
still haven't.
You still haven't? Oh, okay. A little shameless drop. We're actually in it. So,
Oh, really?
yeah. We got well, actually, all the Loonies are in it. So Bemis did a bit of a love letter to all the Loonies out there, and you can see a whole wave of Loonies, and my co-hosts and myself are marked in there. So you've got to read it, Taran. As crazy
I
as it
have
is.
I have the issue.
Okay.
That run I thought was just kind of mixed, so I didn't really go
Yeah,
back to the later issues. But I'll
yeah.
definitely check it out. Yeah.
Okay, it definitely got some very mixed responses, polarizing even as well. People were very vehemently
Oh
against
yeah.
it. Yeah, I didn't mind it. I liked the introduction of the Sun King. I liked Beatrice as
I do
well.
too. I think
Just
Sun King is a good villain for a
yeah,
TV show. Actually, I think that would work
yeah,
really well.
absolutely. And I thought his first issue was very strong. 188. With the one without Moon
Oh
Knight
yeah.
was just brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah, the last two issues, 199, 200, kind of lost me a little. And we spoke to Max as well, Max Bemis, and he did say he was going through a rough trot, and that was it was a difficult time for him. So it was hard for him to, okay, I guess, finish those issues. All right, now before we go into a break, Taran, I just want to go on to your third video here, and we're getting into 7 things I want from the Moon Knight series. So this is a pretty cool one as well. You've dropped the Moon Knight hoodie here. I think you've gone Candy is Dandy, I think, from memory.
Yeah. Candy's dandy, liquor's quicker.
But this was a cool video. You had 7 points you wanted to outline in a Moon Knight. We're talking the TV show, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So without dwelling too much on your responses, because I really want to urge the Loonies to click on and to have a watch. And again, Loonies, these episodes by Taran, they're really nice and compact. They're easy to watch. So definitely check them out. So I've got the 7 here. Okay. So you mentioned supporting cast obviously is a must. We have to have a strong
Absolutely.
supporting cast. Anyone knows Moon Knight is a lone wolf, but his family and friends are so integral to his story, especially the Mensch run.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Have you read all of the volume one, Doug Mensch, or most of it?
I've read most of it. I've got a lot of those issues from my grandpa, actually. He had most of the run, so I think I'm missing about 7 or 8 issues of it, but I've read most
Okay,
of it, and it's a good run. And yeah, the
okay.
supporting characters in that, they have a lot of play.
Yeah. Your grandfather sounds like an absolute dude. I mean, yeah,
Oh,
he
yeah,
sounds
he
like
is. He's got so many comic books, and they're
yeah.
all really old too, like
That's
thousands.
awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely the supporting cast is a must. I mean, straight off, the first two you think of is Marlene and Frenchie, and you know, you kind of build it from there. You build his world from there. Um, the other one, a second thing you'd like to see, a physical Khonshu, which I believe is pretty cool as well.
I yeah.
Yeah.
I think yeah, he should be an actual whether they do like the giant bird skull in the suit or like the statue looking thing, but it should be an actual physical entity that we see Mark interact with and not just have a voice in his head. I think it should be an actual person on set that is there with him.
Yep. Oh yeah, me too. One of the things I hope they don't do, because I'd love the bird skull, I'd love the statue. I mean, they're both good. I'd take either of them. What I'd hate for them to do would be to do maybe, you know how Khonshu in the comics he comes in the form of Mark's enemy, or like Bushman and stuff. But I'd hate for him to be like his father or something. So then you get just an
Oh
ordinary.
yeah.
Yeah, because I think we've
Yeah.
seen that, and I think the visuals of Khonshu is very striking. That we kind of need something different from it. So I don't want to see a yeah, like I'm thinking,
I agree completely.
yeah, I'm thinking
Yeah,
of
I'd rather not see him show up as like all the other characters on the show. Like,
yeah,
oh, here he's Marlene saying, "Oh, you have to do this," or here
yeah,
he's as Bushman, "I'm your enemy," or he's Frenchie here. I'd rather see him as an actual person,
yeah, because
as
all
himself.
exactly all I see when they do that is like, oh, you're saving money. You're just using the act. You're
Yeah,
recycling the actors. Yeah,
yeah.
give us something.
You
Yeah,
can't get someone else. Yeah.
yeah. So no, physical Khonshu definitely. Now this is one hell to the yes. Your third point here. And one of the things you don't want to reveal this crazy. Again, we touched upon it. This ambiguity. You don't want to reveal whether or not Mark is whether or not Mark is crazy. You want to keep it like up in the air. And I find this one of the most interesting things as well. That to be honest as well, a lot of the recent comic books they don't. Well, they haven't. I guess that. Well, actually,
Oh,
the Lemire has,
oh yeah.
but Bemis, I don't think it really didn't focus on that more. I think they really can emphasize it in the TV show. Yeah, but yeah. I mean, what are your thoughts on?
I really think one of the selling factors for this character should be we don't know if he's actually crazy or if he has this entity in his head and what's going on there. And I know you can make Khonshu an actual being, but whether that's just a manifestation of what Mark is thinking or an actual Egyptian god, it's something else. But he should be the one character in the MCU because I know they're not going to go super hardcore, dark characters. He should be your one character that you don't know where his morals lie. He's comfortable with killing, and well, it depends on who's writing. He should just be this character who we like him, but we don't trust him because he's got this sort of loose energy to him that no other character has. So I think you should just leave it up to interpretation, and you could even reference it with other characters that maybe they're like, oh, he's crazy, or maybe another one's like, no, he's okay, and you could have that like juxtaposition between actual characters in the MCU who are saying that about him. And you should definitely just leave it to interpretation if you think he's crazy or not.
Yeah, yeah, I'd agree. I don't. Yeah, it's really hard because they don't. I think again that they really can emphasize it in the TV show about about what, because I guess what I'm trying to say is that we're comic book fans, and we know that there's this element of crazy to Moon Knight, right? So going into the TV show, one of the basically one of the draw cards for Moon Knight is this crazy factor he has. That's what defines him apart from other heroes. So it's going to be hard to sell that ambiguity in the character for a lot of the fans that know that he's. I mean, for people first timers, of course. I mean, but first timers will probably ask someone who does know, like, what is this Moon Knight about? Oh, he's a crazy dude. Oh, okay, okay. But
he's white. He's Marvel's Batman.
Yeah, oh,
but he's not.
No, he's not.
I hate that.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. I love. I mean, I love your idea. I guess I'm saying what is that I do love your idea. It's going to be hard. It's hard though because it's such a part of him, and it's one of the go-tos that you describe him. Like, yeah, he's got mental issues. He's crazy. But yeah, maybe they can somehow emphasize the fact that he does have these mental issues, and maybe, like, I'm just spitballing here, Taran. You got to work. Just work with me here. Maybe in the show, it's having some unexplained thing that he does, like in Volume 2 or the Fist of Khonshu, where he gains those powers. Dependent on the phases of the moon. Maybe you can have him do some superhuman feat just briefly, and it's like, oh, hang on, maybe he is kind of powered by Khonshu, but you don't really know. Yeah, so I guess there are ways that you can do it.
That's a good idea. I actually like that. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Leave it to the hands of Jeremy Slater and Beau DeMayo. Number 4 here, Taran, you have villains of very important as well. Now, you did make mention, though, and I am pointing fingers like that. You did make mention that Moon Knight doesn't have a very good rogues gallery. I beg to differ. I think he does, but they're very underutilized. Like they're not as good as Spider-Man or Batman. But yeah. But yeah, no, plenty of villains to plunder from the canon. Just a couple of that you've mentioned. I think Stained Glass Scarlet would be awesome to see.
Yes,
Yeah, and a couple of picks from you that you'd like to see, villain wise.
I really think if you do more than one season of this show, your first season should be about Bushman and where you're taking him, and then in your second season, you do Black Spectre. I think that is the perfect and logical next step for him. He could get a little more gritty with Black Spectre. There's a little more intensity there. And you could easily flesh out a cast with Black Spectre having his wife and his son, and we could see them be killed at some point on the show. So I think that could be a segue to lead him into becoming Black Spectre. And I think Bushman, Black Spectre, I think we'll see Stained Glass Scarlet at some point.
Yeah.
And Werewolf by Night, I do think we'll see Werewolf by Night.
Yeah, I think so. This is your 7th point about Black Spectre. So we jumped a little here. So that was your things that you want to see. I agree as well. I think Black Spectre brings a very different sort of villainy than Bushman. Bushman's you're pretty much your out and out cutthroat. I'm pretty bad to the bone. I tried to kill you before, and now you're trying to kill me. Yeah. Black Spectre's got that whole the backstory, but also he was running for was he running for mayor or I can't remember.
He was running for mayor of New York.
Yeah, so he has that kind of side to him. I don't want to say Kingpin, but he's got that other side to him that will kind of fight Moon Knight in a different kind of from a different front.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so I think Black Spectre's a very good. I'd like to see Morpheus myself. I love Morpheus.
That's cool. I'd like that.
Yeah, heavily underutilized. Werewolf by Night for sure. I'd love to see Werewolf by Night. One of my favorite issues was written by Mike Benson. I think it's issue 20 of the Houston run, but Benson took over. So Benson took over the second half. It has Mike Deodato. It's based on Werewolf by Night as well. Very good one shot. So a couple of other things here for your 7 things. Just to wrap up, dark visuals. You mentioned that you've got to set the mood, a lot of lighting. I think the score it's going to be hard to nail the score. Yeah. How would you... I don't know what kind of, how would you take it?
With the score,
It,
I
it,
would
yeah.
yeah, go for a darker motif, but I think you should sometimes kind of try to throw in an Egyptian motif too,
Oh, yeah,
just
yeah,
to get
yeah.
a sense of that otherworldly stuff. I think that could work too. I'm not sure what that would sound like or what
Yeah, yeah.
instruments you need for that, but it kind of like how Black Panther has that African jungle feel. You could do
Mm,
something Egyptian,
yeah.
or maybe even like kind of like otherworldly, holy, religious in that aspect too for Moon Knight. I think you could
Yeah.
go that way.
When you were just saying that, I was just thinking of Game of Thrones as well. The kind of, they had that kind of Celtic kind of old,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, medieval kind of, I don't know what you call it. But yeah, no, for sure. Because I was thinking like Mr. Knight would be easy. You have kind of like a noirish kind of
Detective, yeah.
seedy, yeah, kind of thing. Moon Knight would be harder still. That's a question as well. Who would you like? Who would you prefer to see, the Caped Moon Knight or Mr. Knight on screen?
I think we are going to see both because I think that is
Oh,
an easy way to play up that he has a little bit more going on in his head.
mm-hmm.
Because you could easily do, when he's Jake Lockley, he's got the mustache. You could do when he's Stephen Grant, he's got the nice suit on. And then when he needs to do hardcore, like I need to investigate this, he does the Mr. Knight. But then when he needs to like go around punching people and just doing crazy stuff, he can be Moon Knight. I do think we'll see both in some aspect.
Oh, I'd love to see, but yeah. I'd hate to see just one or the other. I'd love to see both. My favorites, obviously, not obviously. My favorite would have to harken back to the traditional. I'd love to. I don't know. I don't care how corny it would be. I'd love to see the cape and the hood, and in some sort of iteration. But I wouldn't be adverse to Mr. Knight. He's, let's face it, the
Oh, yeah.
visuals for that is brilliant. So.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and finally here another one. One of the, to round out the seven things that you wanted to see, an episode in Mark's head. Now this kind of references the Jeff Lemire run, right?
Yes. Yeah. I think it's a good way to indicate there's more going on inside his head. And I think at some point we'll see like considering if WandaVision gets a little more crazy than we're thinking and it goes more inside Wanda's head, I think we could definitely see that happening on Moon Knight. And I have like a 4-season pitch for Moon Knight, and it starts with Bushman in season 1. You end season 2 with him killing Black Spectre, and that's how he goes crazy. And then all of season 3 is like the Lemire run.
Oh, nice.
And then in season 4, you launch into like a Vengeance of the Moon Knight, where it's kind of his redemption story.
Oh yeah.
But I think you want to show people there's a little more going on inside his head. You do an episode where he's kind of stuck switching between roles, and he's like, he wakes up, he's in a place he doesn't know, and he walks through another door, and then he's in a movie studio and he's Stephen Grant. He walks through another door, he's going into his taxi, walks through another door, he's Moon Knight, and you just kind of play up that kind of aspect. And I would think it could work. It would make sense to show people that he is a little bit more crazy.
Yeah, I think that that use of the medium in that Lemire run, with having Smallwood, Wilfredo Torres, James Stocco, Francesca Francavilla, all those different art styles for each of the identities, I think it just lends itself to a cinematic translation.
Definitely, yeah.
So I can definitely see that as well. I'd love to see that, and I strongly believe that we would. I mean, it's hard to ignore the Lemire run and what it's done for the Moon Knight canon. It certainly has focused mostly on that kind of internal struggle than I believe any of the other series. So I'm sure we'll definitely get some sort of nod to Jeff Lemire in some aspect. Yeah, right. Well, Loonies, we're going to take a quick short break, and on the other side of this ad, we will come back. We're going to finish off just the final 4 videos of Taran's Moonwatch. So catch you then.
Hey everyone, this is Brian, the host of Inner Demons, the Ghost Rider podcast. And since 2017, Inner Demons has been the best place on the web for news, reviews, and regular discussion with our listeners about Marvel's Spirit of Vengeance, Ghost Rider. You can find us on Stitcher, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and many other podcast catchers, as well as on Twitter @InnerDemonsGR. Remember, listening to your inner demons is not always a bad thing. Ride on.
Yes, welcome back, Looney listeners. You are listening to Into the Night, the Moon Knight podcast. I can't remember if I said that at the beginning of the show. Episode 141, and I'm here with very special guest, fellow High Priest of Khonshu, Taran Barker, here from Tsunami Studios. Taran, we are going through your videos of Moonwatch on your YouTube channel, and we're up to number 4. And you mentioned this before. This is this is titled "Pitching 3 Moon Knight Comic Book Ideas." This is interesting. I like all of them. The middle one kind of threw me a little.
Yeah, threw me too.
But very cool indeed. I wouldn't say no. Anyway, as mentioned, Loonies, go check out these videos as well. So we're not gonna spoil anything like thoroughly for you. We're gonna give you the kind of the framework for it. But so these 3 pictures, Taran, why don't you take us through them? Number 1 was your Moon Knight physically splitting. Which is pretty cool.
It's a big comic book trope where a character has an evil version of themselves, and it's kind of similar like that. So my pitch was, let's take Stephen Grant, Jake Lockley, and Mark Spector and give them all their own individual bodies, and we could have 3 different types of Moon Knights. You could have my pitch was Stephen Grant is Mr. Knight, Mark Spector is the regular Moon Knight, and then Jake Lockley's kind of a little more unhinged, scarier one. Maybe he's wearing a black suit. That's what my pitch was. I think it'd be a really interesting place to take Moon Knight, and it could just be something very comic booky, very science fiction that the character hasn't dealt with yet. So I think it could just be something unique for the character.
I can't believe that I haven't done this already. It's crazy.
I know,
it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just thinking while you were saying it and while I was watching the video, I was thinking the Bemis run had apparitions of Lockley and stuff. I mean, but they weren't physical by any means, and you didn't have. Yeah. What I like about this idea is that you have three distinct Moon Knights running around. You know, and I love it, and this whole potential that they could run into each other. The Jake Lockley one, obviously being a bit more rougher around the gills. Very cool idea. Any writers listening, any creators? Well, actually, Marvel listening, give this man a role on the Moon Knight series. The second one, Sharon, I'm going to let you describe this one.
Yeah, sure. This one, I was like, I'm a fan of both of these characters, so I know there's not a big history, but we've seen them exchange a couple of glances here and there. They make jokes about it in the Houston run. My pitch was a Moon Knight and Tigra team-up book, which just in concept, it sounds stupid, but I think it could work. I said maybe there is like a tiger goddess somewhere that tries to choose Tigra as an avatar, and she asks Mark for help with that. And if we were to completely dismiss Marlene as a viable love interest for Mark, I think you could easily put in Greer Nelson in there, and she would be a great side character to him. And if they just had like a team up book, I think it would be a really fun book. It'd just be kind of a comedy book that Moon Knight hasn't really got, and it would be a great way to kind of say he's a furry.
Jeez, you really are a fan. You know her name. My God, I gotta give you props for that. Do you know what's happened to Tigra? Where is she now? Like, I used to follow the West Coast Avengers. She's not there. Oh, she is. Yeah, she was.
She was on the West Coast Avengers. She was on that Kelly Thompson run. That's the last time I saw her. Yeah,
that's the last time I saw her as well. She turned into a 30-foot beast or something. Yeah. Okay. Very interesting. I would love to see that. Tigra's a lot of fun. I've only seen her in the West Coast Avengers and in the older runs. Yeah, I don't know how. I'd love to see her in the modern runs, just because her look and her character is so of its time. I think.
Oh,
It'd
definitely.
be
Yeah.
very interesting to see how she works with, especially Moon Knight of this time. As he's a lot more darker than, well, I say that, but he's a lot more different than the West Coast Avengers run. And finally, this was a quite a well thought out pitch here, I thought, because there were a lot of things happening here, Taran. In essence, you have Khonshu leaving Mark, and Marlene dying, and then Mark having to raise Beatrice by himself, and then an eventual legacy handed over to Beatrice.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's kind of amazing that Moon Knight hasn't had another spin-off or interpretation of that character like so many other characters have. So my initial pitch was Mark finally gets rid of Khonshu. Khonshu leaves him and he's finally feeling clear. His head is free. He doesn't have these thoughts going on in his head. But as that's happening, Marlene dies of natural causes, and thus he becomes the sole caretaker of Beatrice. While that is happening, Khonshu comes to visit Beatrice and tries to make her the new avatar because she has a lot of similarities of Mark, and he wants to keep that legacy going. And then this kind of becomes like, how is Mark going to train Beatrice to, because I have it like she wants to become a sidekick and a superhero in her own right. So how does Mark train her to become a Moon Knight character while Khonshu is going against Mark to train his daughter too? And it's just kind of Mark versus Khonshu for the soul of Beatrice.
Yes. I like it, and because what really interested me in this as well is that there's the other dynamic. If you're to take the Bemis run, and because I love this idea that Max Bemis put in about how it wasn't Mark and Marlene that had Beatrice, it was Jake and Marlene, and Mark didn't know about it because of a different identity. And I love that idea that this one person, his alter, has done this other thing, and he's find out. So if for me, if you add that in as well, like it's like Mark going, this is the daughter that I didn't even know I had, and I've got to raise you, and that would be really cool. So anyway, some really good pictures. Do you write? It sounds like you write a lot as well, Taran.
I do write. Yeah, I try to every now and then I try to put down something for a screenplay or a short story. I've worked on a few comic books that weren't published, but
nice.
I like to write, and it's a fun thing. So I tried to come at that last pitch there from like, what would if I was given Moon Knight at Marvel and they said you have the full run to do whatever you want, that's where I'd go. I would take it with the Beatrice and Khonshu stuff in a heartbeat, because I think it's a mature story, and it's something that I think is a natural progression for the character of Mark Spector.
That's cool. Do you do a lot of do you have like a blog or something? Do you write a lot of fanfic and all that, or?
I don't do fanfic. That's kind of why I did my podcast, Fights of Fiction, so I can kind of tell a story in that. But
right.
I am looking at doing more of like written stuff on my channel where I just kind of talk about something I wrote, or kind of do like a spoken version of like something I put on paper. So I'm definitely looking into doing more of that stuff. Yeah.
Nice. And how are you with acting? Did you say you did some acting?
I'm not an actor. No.
Oh, you're not an actor.
No.
Okay. I'm just kind of trying to edge it towards we have a serial audio adventure called The Hunt for Khonshu's Golden Scepter.
Yeah.
If you want to give your voice acting a go, just let us know.
Oh yeah, maybe we'll see.
Okay. For those of you that haven't got video, Taran just gave me a very kind of weird, quizzical, I don't know what he's trying to say kind of look. Anyway, just roll with it. Hang on, while my iPad is playing silly buggies. Here we go. Okay. Now, moving on from that, we have your 5th video entitled, so this is a big one. This answered your question in one of your early videos as well, because I think you had speculated that Jason Aaron would write a Moon Knight series. But lo and behold, we got this huge announcement, I think it was late January, And mind you as well, you're wearing a Superman t-shirt. I've just got to call that out. I think there's synergy happening there. A little plug, I do Last Sons of Krypton, a Superman podcast. So there you go, Moon Knight, Superman.
Oh, cool, yeah.
There's a connection. Anyway,
I love Superman too. Yeah.
Oh, do you? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm like a newbie. So my co-host Connor.
Yeah,
is
me
more
too. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, you're like, yeah, I'm enjoying it. A lot to learn about him still. I like the Red Sun.
Definitely.
Did you see the Red Sun film?
I did not see that yet.
Oh, God, have you read Red Sun by Mark Miller?
I really like Red Sun.
Yeah, well, I think you'll like the film, written by James DeMatteis.
Oh, cool.
It takes its own spin on it, so don't expect a panel by panel translation, but it's good. Anyway,
cool.
So Moon Knight versus the Avengers. So you on that video, basically you make the announcement. As we all know, Age of Khonshu from Avengers 33 onwards will happen. But having said that as well, Taran, with this whole thing with Diamond and comics in general, unfortunately, that's kind of really put things on the back burner, hasn't it? I mean, we're still waiting for it. I dare say it was meant to drop, I think, mid to late April. I think we'll get it now, maybe mid to late May, instead. But yeah, what are your thoughts on Age of Khonshu and the description of what it's about?
I think it's an interesting take, and I know they set it up at the end of Serpent War there. I like Jason Aaron. I think what he did for Thor really revolutionized that character that wasn't really going anywhere. So I haven't been a big fan of his Avengers run, to be honest. I thought some of it worked, some of it is kind of boring, and it's just not for me. But I think this is right up his alley. It's a godlike character. We are taking some big chances with the character in a new direction, and there's going to be mummies invading all of the world. So that sounds pretty exciting.
Yeah, me too as well. I just hope, and I'm pretty sure he won't do it, but I just hope we don't get another quippy Spider-Man / Deadpool-esque Moon Knight like we got in Damnation or dare I say Contagion. I think in Serpent War he was a little bit better, although he did have a bit of a light. See, because for me, Moon Knight in the Mensch run, Volume 1, he does have a humour, but it's a lot dry. It's a lot drier. It's not
drier, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm sure Jason Aaron won't do that, especially how Moon Knight's evolved since then. And just finally, just on that as well, with the talk of Moon Knight and the Avengers, you mentioned you'd love to see Aaron write Moon Knight. If he couldn't write it, who would you, in the current stable of Marvel writers, who would you like to see do Moon Knight?
I mean, the guy's got numerous things going on, but I think Donny Cates would be a great writer.
Yeah.
It's an easy answer, but I think he could definitely, what he did with Venom, doing that for Moon Knight, I think he could do a lot of cool stuff there.
Yeah. If he gets the go ahead to do it, and he does his research and stuff on Moon Knight, on the character, then I think he would hit it out of the park. Just because I think he went to say, because in Damnation, which he kind of wrote, it was not that, to me, it was terrible, the way that Moon Knight was depicted. But Donny Cates admitted that he had no idea who Moon Knight was or anything about him, and he didn't, fair enough, he didn't bother to do the research because he wasn't that much of an important character in that event. Yeah, but Donny Cates, okay, I'd say I'd still like to see Ed Brisson. I think Ed Brisson would do a good Moon Knight.
That's a good one too. His Ghost Rider is really good.
His Ghost Rider is awesome. Yeah, and he did a great Iron Fist with Mike Perkins.
Oh yeah.
Really cool. Okay, then coming up to your second most recent one. This is cool as well. This brought a smile to my face because you're an avid action figure collector.
I am, yes.
And this is, sorry, again, I should stop this portrait thing. Moon Knight Marvel Legends Wave Toy Talk. So this video, you go into, basically, so we've talked about TV shows, you've done your pictures for the comic book series, now your wave for the Legend. I love the Legends figures. Well, I've got a few of them, only a few of them you can probably see here. Not as much as you. Yeah, I'm very happy. Moon Knight to me is still the best Legends figure. Actually, Moon Knight and Black Knight. I like Black Knight. I don't know if
That Black Knight is really good.
is very good. And actually, saying that again, Hercules. I think he's. You were talking about figures, torsos, like moldings. I think the Herc molding is different now. I think they've improved it. Like they're not just reusing an old molding of another. I think. I don't know. Am I wrong?
I think they, yes, I think they tweaked some of the torso because they had that strap on for it. So I think that's why they changed. I know the legs are entirely new sculpt for that figure.
Oh, okay, right. Yeah, no, very very good looking figure there. Yeah, but so you like your figures? You make mention of Mighty Morphin. You're a big fan as well. Let me just again, I've lost the page. So the wish list. Okay. So we've got a classic Doctor Strange, very good. I can't believe that there's no classic Doctor Strange figure.
I know Hasbro they've made that new black and red costume. They've given that black and red costume a cloak, but they've never went back and made like the actual yellow glove, blue shirt version. And it astonishes me they haven't done it, especially since he has a movie.
Well, maybe for the Multitudes of Madness, maybe they'll release. Well, they'll probably release a movie version, but and then we get your favorite Tigra, of course. I can't believe she hasn't got one as well. Like,
I know,
because they have a lot of weird, obscure legend figures. Like they're like the eel, and I don't know. I'm just all these really weird ones.
There's a lot of the Serpent Society.
Yeah, it's a bit strange. Mr. Knight, of course, brilliant. And I wouldn't say Werewolf by Night is good. I'm going to leave this other last. Black Spectre as well would visually look very nice. Now Dracula, just saying here, this has got to be a shout out to Moon Knight Core for sure.
Of course, yeah. they made it possible, you know?
Dracula has nothing to do with Moon Knight at all, but for these memes. So why not?
They've made that meme huge.
They have, haven't they? My God.
That's amazing,
that and ketamine. Oh, I don't know.
I know,
Seems to make it. But why don't you reveal to us, Taran, your BAF figure then? So sorry, for people that don't know, a wave in toy figures are... You have a set, they release a set of 5 figures, and in the box there's a piece of a figure, and if you buy the whole wave, you can actually make a 6th piece. So what was your BAF figure? Build a figure.
My build a figure was the ghost punching huge skeleton suit Moon Knight wears in the Warren Ellis run. I think it is a unique design. Baby. Itself perfectly to an action figure, and it just looks so cool and unique on a shelf.
It would absolutely, and I say it before. It would look beautiful on a shelf. Practicality has nothing, no practical purpose at all, but just looks bloody cool. So that would be great. You mentioned you toyed around with Khonshu figure, which is fair enough, but they do have. I thought I saw in the back of one of your videos. Didn't you have was it a Toy Biz Moon Knight that came with a Khonshu statue of Khonshu figure?
There's a Marvel Select figure that comes with a Khonshu statue,
Yeah.
And
do you have that?
Yeah. I don't have that one. Don't? It's like one of the few I'm still looking for.
Because I thought I saw just like in the corner there, you had a Moon Knight one. It was in front of your Moon Knight artwork, but I may have misread that one. But you've got a few. What Moon Knight figures do you have then?
I have the new one that Hasbro did, which is the Marvel Now costume with the black on it. I have the original Toy Biz ones. There's the standard release, which is the gray suit, and then there's the variant that's the silver suit.
Wow.
And I have the silver suit on display, and then Mezco released 2 like high quality versions that are like $100. I picked up both of those. They are incredible. Some of the best figures I own. I love them.
Yeah, I've only got the Crescent edition at the moment. The San Diego comic, is it the San Diego Comic Con?
Yeah, it's San Diego. Yeah.
But I'd love to get the white one, which I went for the other one because I thought that was the harder one to get. So I'm gonna try to get the other one. Yeah. So again, Loonies. Again, I'll put this in the show notes. We've done some action figure reviews as well. Episodes 19, 89, 116, 131. We cover it as well. Funko figures. Now your graphic as well shows you as a Funko Pop. Are you a Funko Pop collector as well? I'm assuming you are.
I haven't got a lot of the recent stuff. I've really slowed down on pops because it's easy to get carried away with pops. So I've started to tone that down.
Yeah.
And just grab the few ones I want here and there from like lines that I don't think are going to have releases in other versions of toys or collectibles, and that's where I get my pops now.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I've really only limited mine to the Moon Knight ones. I might get a few others of my favorite characters, but you're right. I think it's easy to go down that rabbit hole and just get a whole lot of them. So yeah, running out of space. Anyway, so Loonies, we come up to the most recent. Sorry, Taran. When was this most recent video dropped? Was that in March or February or?
Oh, I think it might have been the beginning of April, actually.
Beginning of April. Wow. Fresh off the press. Yeah.
It's maybe 2 weeks. End of March, early April. It's a really recent one. Yeah.
Well, there you go, Loonies. Check it out while it is hot and fresh and ready. Piping hot. This is the casting, but you've done something before anyway. This is the casting the Moon Knight series on Disney Plus. You make mention that you did a fan cast before. I haven't watched that one. That was a couple of years back or a few years back. So I'd like to I'll go again. We'll all be in the show notes, Loonies. I'd like to compare your fan casting between then and now. But again, we won't go through all of them. I'll pick out a couple of interesting ones I thought. Let's just say, so you go through the main characters, Moon Knight, obviously, Marlene, Frenchie, I've got Bushman, Crawley, Jenna, Khonshu, and you got a cool one at the end of one of my favorites as well. My God, yeah, we seem to like the same sort of. She's awesome, and I'll leave that at the end. But yeah, so these are pretty cool. Look, the first one, obviously, Moon Knight. There's been a lot of talk about Oliver Jackson Cohen. Have you seen the interview with him as well about Moon Knight?
I haven't. I know. Somebody brought it up to him though, right?
Yeah, and he goes, "I don't know what a Moon Knight is, but I'll be glad to play." So,
yeah, I mean,
yeah, he's honest, and hey, you know, who would know who Moon Knight is? But I think he's a great fit as well. I think he is absolutely. Again, Loonies, I'm gonna not give everything away. Go check it out. There are a couple of really curly ones here, I thought. All good. I'm just gonna say Marlene as well. Hilary Duff. That's I don't know.
It's an interesting one. Yeah,
that's an astute one, I think, because you're playing towards the studios' current stable, right? The Disney, Hillary.
That was part of it. Yeah, I've thought because there was the Lizzie McGuire show was kind of put on hiatus. They lost the showrunner, and I know that Hillary has been very vocal in that she wanted to do something on Hulu because she wanted the show to be a little more mature, because a woman in her 30s, it should be a little more mature. So I think if you do the first season on Disney Plus and you want to keep her happy, maybe we'll give you more adult stuff to do in a second season, but could you come over here to Marvel and maybe put in your time as Marlene? You could do something against, be the stronger one in a relationship with a mentally scary man over here, and we can give you another Lizzie McGuire couple seasons. I think she's a good actress, so I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I think she's got the look. I haven't actually seen her act. I just know of her name and Lizzie McGuire. I'm sure she can do a good job. So yeah, no, interesting. I don't have any thoughts of who Marlene could be. I did for ages ago. I can't remember now. Anyway, the only other one I'm gonna point out as well. I thought this was pretty cool. Michael Palin as Crawley. That's an interesting one. And you're considering John Cleese as well?
I was. I think Crawley has this I said it. I think it's a very Shakespearean way about him. He's this over-the-top guy. He is well-versed in the world. He's done a lot, and he's content with where he is. And I thought, who better to portray that kind of level of arrogance in a mature and thought-provoking way than one of the Pythons? And I was going to go with John Cleese, but he likes to steal a scene, and he has to be the front and center. But Michael Palin can blend into the background. Yeah. He knows how to give the actors their moment to shine, and he's definitely pulled off some of the monologues I'd expect from a Crawley character.
Yeah, I think actually he's got the good look for it, doesn't he? And he certainly can deliver the lines as well. So it wasn't someone that I would have thought, but it just proves that if you do think outside of the box, then you'd be surprised with what you can come up with. So yeah, Michael Palin's good. Look, we're just going to wrap it up now, Taran, on the little bonus that you threw in, just because I love this character, Elsa Bloodstone. I can see her actually in the Moon. Get her in a backdoor introduction on the Moon Knight TV series. Get Moon Knight fighting the Werewolf by Night, and get Elsa coming in there, and then get her own series or get her own movie. She's great. Yeah. But you've mentioned is it Rose Leslie? Is that her name?
Rose Leslie, yeah.
Yeah, from Game of Thrones as Elsa Bloodstone. Ygritte.
Yeah, Ygritte, yeah.
Ygritte. Awesome. Great. I'll be up for it. I think...
yeah.
Yeah. Like, for those that don't know, maybe, Taran, describe the demeanour of Elsa Bloodstone, basically.
A little bit of a cocky swagger to her.
Yeah.
I think it's the best way to put it. Foul-mouthed a little bit.
Foul-mouthed, confident, but just pure kick-ass. I loved her in Next Wave, but I loved her also in the Secret Wars War Zones. She was in Marvel Zombies. I'm not sure if you picked up that little run. It was during the Secret Wars battle zones or battle worlds or whatever.
I think I know what that is. I don't think I've read it, but I know what you're talking about, yeah.
Very cool. And I think recently she's been in Deadpool, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep, she has. She's been in almost every issue, which amazes me that they never let Kelly Thompson put her in like her own series, because when Kelly Thompson was doing Jessica Jones, man, she was putting Elsa Bloodstone in everything. So I mean, like, just give her,
Yeah, I loved Elsa in the Jessica Jones, Kelly Thompson written ones, Blind Spot, I think it was, or I can't remember. It was the digital first ones. No, but brilliant. Anyway, I can see her working with Moon Knight, totally. I can see her a lot more than Tigra, Taran, I'm sorry to say. But, you know.
Hey, give it time.
Give it time. Well, there you go, Loonies. Those are... basically a brief rundown of the 7 videos from Moonwatch from Tsunami Studios by Taran Barker. Taran, I'd like to thank you so much for coming on a very early time there over in Canada. But thank you so much for bringing the vibes in. I can tell how much you are invested in this character, as we are as well. Please keep on making these videos.
Oh, I absolutely will.
Excellent. All the details will be there. Actually, we'll get there now. Taran, where can Loonies find you? Where can they, if they want to ask you questions, see more of your stuff?
Yeah, you can follow me on Instagram at TaranAlmighty56. And I post a lot of action figure stuff there. I post some stuff that I'm working on there. And you can follow me at Tsunami Podcasts on Twitter. And I put links to all the new stuff I'm working on, all the live streams I'm planning on doing. So you can just go there and find me there. And as always, I'm on YouTube at Tsunami Studios, and you can see all my content. And I hope you guys come to watch it.
Excellent. Well, Loonies, definitely, as mentioned, check it out. Drop Taran a line as well. Give your thoughts, give your pictures, or let Taran know, what you'd like to see in the TV show, or in action figures, or in the comic books. Well, that pretty much does us, Loonies, for episode 141. Thank you so much for listening, as always. Next phase, we're going to try and stick to the moon. It's going to be a last quarter, which means we're doing an Avatars of Vengeance. It's a video game review. Taran, are you a gamer?
I am not. I do not even own a console.
Oh, me too. Don't worry. Don't worry, but I still talk about it. I don't know
Nice.
how, but I'll figure out something. I think we've kind of plundered the depths of Moon Knight's appearances in video games, but I'll have to see what we can do. Anyway, Avatars of Vengeance, keep an eye out for that. As mentioned at the top of the show, Patreon page, please check it out. I am suspending the payments as well for at least a couple of months, just because of this damn pandemic. But that's not stopping the content coming out for all Patreon members, so give it a go. See if the incentives are to your liking. A big thank you once again to Hello Headphones. And also, I'd like to shout out affiliate members Amazon and Entertainment Earth. So if Taran, like yourself, if you like to buy some more action figures, check out Entertainment Earth, the link in our show notes, and that any purchase that you make will help the show as well. Finally, we are part of the collective. As mentioned previously, we're part of a whole band of podcasters that like doing the same sort of thing. Taran, maybe if you're keen to join, it would be great to have you on because, you like Moon Knight, that's a tick.
Yeah, that'd be cool, yeah.
But there are other shows like Adelan Rising and Inhumans podcast. There's Inner Demons, a Ghost Rider podcast. There is the Sons of the Dragon and Immortal Iron Fist podcast, and Resurrections, Thanos and Adam Warlock podcast. There are podcasts for any character out there that you like. Please check them out. Again, in the show notes or on Twitter, #TheCollectiveNet. That should lead you towards a lot of our tweets. Finally, you can catch us on an email, itkmoonnight@gmail.com. Just drop us a line. We're also on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Discord, Get Vocal. We have a website on Libsyn and WordPress. As mentioned, we have a Patreon page, and we're on Podchaser as well. So if you can leave us a review, that would be pretty cool. We always like to hear if we're doing things right. If there's anything you want to hear, let us know as well. We'd love to improve the show. So once again, Taran, a huge thank you. You're more than welcome on the show whenever. When the TV show hits, if you want to review one of the episodes, if you want to review a comic book, just drop us a line, or I might even drop you a line. Yeah. And we'll try to make it working.
Yeah, sounds good. Thanks for having me.
No worries. And as always, Loonies, may Khonshu watch over the denizens of the night. Catch you later.
Moon Knight and affiliated characters, stories and events are properties of Marvel Characters Incorporated. Materials used and discussed within the podcast are intended for critique and review purposes only under the fair dealing concept of the current Copyright Act. The views, information or opinions expressed during the podcast are solely those of the individuals involved and do not necessarily represent those of the copyright owners.